What's going on, guys? In the month of February, I sent out 75,000 SMS texts for my land flipping business. And that's because in January, we made a decision that we were going to aggressively scale our SMS marketing. So we went from like 10,000 a month to like 75. And so in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what happened, the good, the bad, the numbers, the mistakes, the systems we had to put in place to do that type of volume, and whether cold texting is even worth it. You guys will definitely want to stick around because, spoiler alert, we had $80,000 in pipeline profit over 8 deals, and 2 of them fell apart, so kind of like 6. But we will talk about that later on. That is very important. But if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Levi. I'm co-owner of MMC Land, where we buy and sell vacant land parcels across the United States. We also help beginners get their first land deal, and we help moderately seasoned land investors scale their businesses. So if you guys want to learn more about what we do, I have a link to my school community in the description. And if you have any questions throughout the video, DM me on Instagram. I answer all of my DMs. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about why we chose texting, because this is very key. We chose texting for 2 reasons, okay? We aren't doing anything else right now. And so it's the cheapest and it is the fastest channel to optimize, in my opinion. So mail is powerful, don't get me wrong, but it can take 30 days or more just for the mail to hit people's mailboxes. Then you have to wait 30 to 60 days to get all of your responses. And then it might take another 30 days for you to realize why your campaign flopped, right? What you could do better. And sometimes you don't even get a good answer. You don't know if it's because you priced wrong. You don't know if it's because you're just super unlucky and someone like maybe mailed it like 2 days before you. You don't truly know. Now with texting, you get feedback instantly and you can change something tomorrow. Big difference. And the speed to data is insane. And we really need to deep dive on this, because if your guys' response rates are low, you can just adjust the initial templates. Now, I recommend doing that maybe weekly so you get a big sample size. But this you can change daily. Like if you guys are not getting enough conversations, loosen your qualifying questions, okay? Because you get feedback right away. And so these 2 reasons, it's cheap to do, and the speed to data is why we decided February was going to be our first 75,000 text month. How did we scale from 10 to 75,000 texts per month so quickly and efficiently? Here's the big shift, okay? We hired a dedicated texter, so his only job is to filter through responses. And so he doesn't close, he doesn't talk to anyone on the phone, he doesn't negotiate, he doesn't price deals. And so his job is to efficiently work through the inbound responses and ask 1 or 2 qualifying questions, and then pass serious qualified leads to Francis, our acquisitions manager. He's also the co-owner of the company. But our texter, he's 19 years old, he's from Pakistan, and he's an absolute superstar at what he does. So we pay him $850 per month plus a 100% commission on each deal that closes that comes from him. And so that structure is important because it means that he's incentivized to do good work and work hard because he gets a commission. He's also affordable, so it just makes sense. And most importantly, he protects our time as the CEO of the company, right? So Francis, at this point, only talks to pretty motivated and qualified sellers. And so that alone changes everything because he can spend more time on the phone and he can close more deals, okay? And so let's talk about our first week's mistake that we changed very quickly, okay? So on our first week, we didn't have that many inbound leads coming in, or not as much as we wanted, which sounds crazy, right? Because we're sending, 4,000 texts per day. And so the issue here is that we were over qualifying leads, okay? And so we were over qualifying them before getting them on the phone. So a lot of people ghosted us, right? And so what did we do to fix that? It's very simple. We loosened our top of the line funnel. And so instead of a bunch of questions, we went down to 1 to 2 questions max. And we only paid attention to the people who had the best answers, okay? And here's the balance you need to have though. If you qualify too little, you waste your closer's time. And if you qualify too much, your pipeline becomes non-existent. So you have to find the sweet spot that works for you and works for what your company can handle. And so the sweet spot for us is 1 to 2 questions, then phone call. And now, guys, this might be the most important part of the video. Let's talk about compliance. This is very important. I'm not a lawyer. Talk to a lawyer if you would like, but texting is in a very legal gray area. You can absolutely get sued if you're reckless and don't know what you're doing. I highly recommend not texting people on the do not call list. I don't text people on the do not call list. We scrub against those people, we stay compliant, and we honor opt-outs immediately. And we highly recommend you do the same, right? If you want to use the platform that we use, Smarter Contact, it's the automated SMS software, and they have an automatic do not call scrub. It's updated every day, and it's backed by a pretty, they use a pretty good software or service, right, to be able to offer that. And if you do want to use that, I have a referral link in the description. I get a small chunk of change when you sign up, so I'd appreciate it, especially because I'm giving you guys really good information here. But regardless of the platform, stay compliant. That's my biggest advice. But now let's talk about the results. Probably the second most important thing, right? This is what everyone cares about, deals. So we got technically 8 deals under contract this month, and the thing is, only 6 of them are actually still going on. 2 of them fell through because of due diligence. We didn't end up liking them, so that leaves us with 6 active contracts. One of them is a double close where the projected spread, it's not really a good deal. It's around $8,000 to $10,000, but realistically, after the fees and stuff, we'll probably walk away with closer to $3,000. But we spent $150 on drone photos, so it's worth the risk. Okay. And so outside of that one, we have $80,000 in pipeline profit. So that doesn't include the $3,000 across our remaining deals. And that puts our average deal spread at about $16,000 if you take the other 5 contracts and divide it by 80,000. So it's pretty solid, really solid. Okay. Considering our monthly expense for our texting stack is like $5,000. So that's a pretty ridiculous return on ad spend, right? And now here's a really important reality check for you guys. Not everyone is going to have these types of numbers. We follow a very, very strict framework, and we are pretty good at closing deals, right? You'll see in our KPIs here when we go over that shortly. But texting is a volume game, and the barrier to response is extremely low. So it's very easy for someone to want to speak with you if they're not qualified, or text you sure, what's your offer, and then ghost you. So it brings in the lowest quality leads, but it generates a lot of them. And so your job is to build a good system that filters through them efficiently. And you guys cannot text 200 people and expect success. Okay, you need very large lists. If you guys want to know where I get my lists from Land Portal. I think it's the best land software. The enterprise plan is really good. If you guys want to sign up for the Land Portal, I also have a link in the description as well. You also need consistency. You need daily volume, guys. You cannot skip days. You cannot skip weeks. And you need a good framework to close as well, and a good system, right? The reason we're so successful is because we have good frameworks and systems in our business. If you guys do the same volume, it's going to be wildly different, the results, because it really depends on the operator behind the system. Okay. So if you guys went and set 75,000 texts a month, and I know people that are doing this, they might only get 1 deal a month. They might not get a deal a month because they suck as operators and their systems are bad. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk about KPIs, right? Because KPIs are pretty important. All right, guys. So these are my KPIs for February 1st to the 27th. Now, I said I'd sent out 75,000. I lied a little bit. If this month, February is a short month, right? If it had 31 days or 30 days like normal, we would have hit, a little over that. But so we sent 72,907. Sorry. Our delivery rate was low. This is actually something I'm actively working out with Smarter Contact. It should be closer to probably 80% plus, preferably 90. And this actually makes a huge difference. I'll dive into this in a second. But our reply rate was 10.55%. I would like to be closer to 12. Our texter is awesome. This is his median response time. and we generated 59,000 leads. And so getting 8 contracts, right, out of these leads, so that's about 1 in 5. Again, 2 of them fell through. And so if you do, 59 divided by 6, because those are contracts that should go through, we're looking at closer to like 1 out of every 10 qualified leads is the deal. And that's pretty good, right? Obviously, like 1 to 8 is like amazing in the industry, but 1 out of every 10 is not bad. Okay, that's still considered actually pretty good for the industry standards. And so let's talk about reply rate. I feel like reply rate, this is not bad. I feel like really good is like 13% plus. So we're optimizing our templates each week to slowly just get better reply rates. And I'll go through the individual weeks so you can see as well. Now let's talk about delivery rate, because this is actually really important. So if I sent out 75,000 texts in a month, and my deliverability rate is 10% lower than it should be, or more, right? It might even be closer to 15 to 20% lower than it should be. This actually makes a huge difference with this amount of volume, because let's say we had a 10% higher deliverability rate. The amount of texts that actually go through is more, right? And the amount of people that reply is 10% more. And that means I get 10% more leads. So that means I might get an extra contract if my delivery rate was 10% higher, or 15 or 20, right? So that's kind of the difference that a low delivery rate makes in terms of, doing it at scale. So this is something we're actively working on. I think something's wrong with our A2P 10DLC registration when we made our sub account for our texter. But yeah, guys, having a median response time that's low is super important. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I would like to see my texter be under like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then let's go over we can go over week to week. So this is our first week. We were kind of scaling it up. So our texts, we didn't send too much. Our reply rate was not that good. We generated 13 leads. The second week of February, our reply rate was better. We sent the actual amount of text that we should, and I guess had 23 leads. All right, and then this week didn't have that many leads, even though we sent out a lot of texts. I think this was probably like our worst week. Our reply rate went down, but our third week we actually closed a lot of deals because we were still talking to people from this week back here. And then on the very final week, our reply rate went up tremendously. So it's kind of carrying our reply rate. And I guess we had 12 leads, right? Qualified leads. And so those are kind of what our KPIs look like for the month of February. I'll probably do a monthly update just on texting, how I changed my systems, because again, it's easy to do in texting compared to actual like mail, right? Where it takes months. So guys, just to wrap this one up, here are some final thoughts. Texting is not perfect. It is risky if you're reckless, but there's risks in any part of business. That's just the part of the game. But it's very powerful if you build good systems and have good frameworks around it. And for us, and for a lot of other people too, it's probably the fastest way to generate a lot of money and get started in the land flipping business. And it's the fastest way to get conversations and lock up deals. So if this video helped you at all, guys, drop a comment and let me know. If you guys want to know how we structure everything really in depth, I have a link to my school community in my description. And then if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. If you don't want to comment it, I answer all of my DMs. And that's it. I appreciate you guys for watching. Have a nice rest of your day, and peace out.